Now, enough of me. Harry, we've got our Harry, our lovable Pommy expat. He's smiling over there at me. He might give me one in a minute. 25 years in Oz, father of 2 daughters, engineer, travelled and worked all over the world, but nowadays a top-selling author. His book's available here today as well, The Story of Mohammed. Welcome on stage, Harry.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the people who have come here today, especially for Bernard and all the other speakers. A couple of years ago, I would have said thank you both for coming, but things have changed. I wanted to say thank you to all Australians. 25 years ago, I came here as a migrant from a pretty cold, wet rock in the Northern Atlantic with warm beer and not many opportunities. And Australians welcomed me in here and gave me citizenship, which is the greatest thing that anyone's ever given to me. So give yourselves a round of applause, please. Thank you, Australia. Now, you not only brought Poms in here, but you welcomed Greeks, Italians, Yugoslavs. We all fitted in, no problems. Even lately, there's been people from different cultures. We're getting over it. They're fitting in. They're all going to be good Aussies. But there's one culture that's not integrated, and it never will, and for good reason. This culture is different from all the other cultures in the world today. It was invented by a man whose stated aim was the conquest of the whole world. In order to bring about that goal, he developed a system of conquest which was the greatest system ever developed. And that system is called jihad. Now, the consequences for this system for the human race are devastating. I came across that system a good few years ago by accident, about 9 years ago. And since that time, my job has been to study that system and find ways to beat it. And be assured, we will beat it. Now, it's a common reaction when you first wake up and realise what's going on, that you want to fight this system. And you feel angry, you feel aggression, and you want even violence, you know. Do not fall into that trap, any of you. There's an old saying, never wrestle in the mud with a pig, because you'll both get dirty, but the pig will enjoy it. Jihad is the ultimate system of violence and aggression, and you can't beat jihad with violence and aggression. A few months ago in Martin Place, a jihadist took some hostages. There was a girl who cried and pleaded with him, "Don't kill me, it's just me and my mum." He looked her in the eyes and said, "You've got 15 minutes to live." Can you do violence like that? I certainly hope not. Could you teach a 7-year-old child to saw someone's head off? I don't think so, I hope not. You never beat jihad with violence. When bin Laden attacked the Twin Towers, his stated aim was to draw George Bush into a fight in Afghanistan, to bankrupt America in the graveyard of empires. And like a fool, George Bush took the bait and they went into Iraq and even Afghanistan. What a bonus that was for the jihadists. What was the cost and what did we get for it? Nothing. Look at Iraq and Syria now. They're a bigger mess than ever when we started. Oh, sorry. So, we got nothing because you can't beat jihad with violence. The good news is that we don't have to. Some people weren't as stupid as George Bush. They sat down and began to figure out why bin Laden did it and what was behind all this. And that was his worst nightmare come true. He never thought that was going to happen. Because what the jihadists fear more than anything is knowledge, especially knowledge of their system. You might have heard of a group in Nigeria called Boko Haram, which means books are forbidden. Or what it really means is all Western knowledge is forbidden. Jihad fears knowledge, and it fears the truth because it knows that that is what you're going to beat it with. It can't face the truth. We will beat it. Don't forget, we are the home team here. Right now, 2% of our population follow Islam. But right now, there's probably less than 1% of us that knows the truth. So we're outnumbered 2 to 1. But this is changing. We're growing fast, but we're in a race and we need to educate people. We need to get people on side and give them knowledge. The problem is that most people don't want to know the truth for 2 good reasons. Firstly, people have been programmed to believe that Islam's peaceful. And they've been programmed to believe that we're the enemy and we're the dangerous ones. If you want to change their minds, then you have to admit that they will have to admit that they were the stupid ones, and people don't want to admit that. They'll have to admit that we were the smart ones, and they don't want to do that. Now, the second problem is that people accept lies because deep down they're too afraid to oppose Islam. I don't blame them, because Islam scares the hell out of me. So instead, they oppose us. They demonize us. They portray us as evil, dangerous hate mongers. After an Islamic attack murdered innocent people in Martin Square, they cry for Islam and say, "Don't worry, I'll ride with you." So that's the battle we're in, and that's the one we have to win. Our battle is to convince most people that it's Islam that's violent, that we're not the violent, hate-filled Nazis that they believe that we are. Most of the people here who are skinheads aren't skinheads because they're violent people, they're skinheads because they're over 75 years old. So this is a battle we've got to win, and we have to win it because the stakes are so high. So how do we do it? Well, a lot of you, like I said, you get angry and you want to grab people and shake them and say, for God's sake, you know. But that's the worst thing you can do. If you're trying to convince people that you're not violent and aggressive, you can't use violence and aggression, and you can't use anger. It's very difficult to do it verbally. There's too much groundwork being laid. People have been fed for too long on this politically correct menu that Bernard's been talking about. They believe that Islam is peaceful, it's just a few radicals, it's this, it's that, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it all. And they've been primed with all these answers which defy common sense, but they make a good soundbite, you know. So to accept to accept the truth is to admit that they're wrong, and they won't do this. So to do this verbally, to talk people around, it's beyond my ability, and from the start I knew that we needed a different way. So my answer was to write a book, and I spent 6 years writing it. Why so long? Because it's such a difficult subject to get through to people. Because you're trying to get through to people who don't want to listen or to understand what you're trying to tell them. They don't want to admit that they've been wrong or stupid. So I had to write a book that would sneak up on people. So the first job is to get people to read it. So this was a book that I wrote with a very neutral cover. It's called The Story of Mohammed. Nice and easy. And the book explains the religion of Islam through the life of its founder, Mohammed. And the beauty of that is that Mohammed's life was a really interesting story. I mean, he was a terrible bloke. He did awful things, but we all want to hear about these things. We're all morbidly curious. Jesus went around saying nice things and doing nice things to people, but that's boring, you know. Mohammed went around cutting people's heads off. People want to hear about it. So the early parts, and this is the other good thing, in the early parts he was fairly neutral. He wasn't too violent at all. So people start reading it, and while they're doing that, I carefully try to demolish all the arguments that people have against you. So by the time Mohammed was behaving badly and murdering and killing people indiscriminately, there was no way that people can deny it. So the book covers all the important aspects of Islamic conquest, how jihad works, taqiyya, dhimmitude, hatred of free speech, goes through the whole lot, but in very simple terms that everyone can read. And the good thing is that there's no hatred in here. So you can share this book at work, and even with your boss. When people finish the book, they're generally in shock, and it takes a while for the information to sink in sometimes, but eventually it does. So I found that I can get through to people without the drama of arguing with them. So I just give them a book and say, see what you think of this. And if they don't like it, it doesn't matter, but most people will. The biggest problem I had was that I'd give people a book and say, next day, what did you think of it? Oh, I didn't get a chance to read it. My wife grabbed it and she's reading it. And a week later they say, oh, my mate came round, Barry, and he took it off my wife and he's reading it. So it gets passed around from one to the next to the next. So this is a very good way to wake people up. It works. Anger, hatred and violence are immoral and counterproductive. Don't indulge in them. They get you nowhere in this fight. We need to fight smarter, not harder. We're portrayed as being the violent ones, and we must never prove them right, because we're already in the right. We stick to the moral high ground. You stick to the moral high ground and don't give them an excuse to label you. You do this and we'll win. Using the book and passing it round is the best way I know to get people to understand. So if you want copies today, the farther at the back, there's a table there where you can get them. I'll be around to sign a copy if you want one. Okay, apart from knowing about the problem, many of you want to do something, and that's why you're here today. You're people who are doers, and you're angry, and you want to do something. But the question is, how can you make Australia wake up? And the answer is, on your own, you can't do much at all. Up until now, we haven't had a successful organisation, but in the last year and a half since publishing, we've been working together with some great people, putting together the groundwork for an entirely new organisation, which is called Australia Wake Up. So the structure, good. Australia Wake Up, not Wake Up Australia, Australia Wake Up. And the structure we discovered and adapted will allow us to create a huge and successful grassroots organisation. It's already been tried and tested, and we're ready to launch. Joining Australia Wake Up is free, and you'll be able to do as much or as little as you want. You can start your own chapter or join someone else's and work in ways that suit you. You might want to go out and leaflet places. Some of you like Facebook, some of you like writing to politicians. Whatever you want, you can work your own way but still be part of a huge organisation. One person alone won't be listened to, but we intend to have 150,000 followers in a year. We're going to roll back the insanity that's been inflicted on us. So stand with us and sign on at australiawakeup.com. The time's right, let's make the change. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for caring about this great country. Thank you.
Good on you, Harry. Doesn't even mind we beat him in the cricket. What a top bloke.